Truth be told, when Spiritforged spoilers first started appearing, I wasn't sold on the new mechanics being introduced. Equipment was okay, especially once the ones with effect text started to appear, but gold tokens specifically had me kind of raise an eyebrow. They seemed clunky, generally unexciting, and their implementation was very uniform. A lot of cards fell into one of two buckets. Either they had an effect plus play a gold exhausted pasted on top, or they followed a rather predictable pattern of when you game action, play a gold token exhausted. But now that I've gotten to play a good amount of Spiritforged, I'm here to tell you exactly how gold tokens interact with the core resource mechanics of Riftbound, why that makes them interesting, and why they have the makings of an evergreen mechanic that's going to pop up here and there for the next 10 years to come. I'm Simon from Games Deconstructed, and let's get started. So first off, let me introduce the mechanic. Gold is a token gear that you can exhaust and kill as a reaction to add a power of any color. You can then spend that power to pay any costs you might want to pay. The ability having two costs itself is relevant here, cause all the effects that create them thus far have the tokens enter exhausted. On that topic, if you would like to get some gold on the battlefield, you need to play cards from a small pool that create those tokens. There's 16 main deckable cards to choose from, plus 2 legends and 1 battlefield. Interestingly, the ability to create gold tokens is not evenly split across all colors. Green has absolutely no cards that make them, while blue and yellow hold a combined 11 of the overall 19. So, you move your treasure hunters from place to place, you conquer with your Draven's Vanquishers, and you get tapped tokens that might eventually save you from recycling runes to pay for power costs. That doesn't sound especially interesting on paper. It's not a eyes light up sort of mechanic like some of the others in the set, but let me tell you why they improve in actual gameplay. Power costs and your decision making around them are at the heart of Riftbound. At least for the initial 2 sets that we currently have, they are. Since they work on a different axis than energy, you can have access to virtually no energy but a lot of power, which I found out time and again when attacking into an MF Aurora when she has 1 open mana. This opens up multiple lines of sequencing if the cards in your hand allow for it, where the major differences are how much power you have to pay and when. And this can be small stuff, like the routine decision in Annie of whether to play Kaisa accelerated and go for an immediate conquer, or play her in base for cheaper and more importantly, without having to recycle runes. Many decks will have the ability to go absolutely scorched earth and have a turn or two of intensely high tempo, at the cost of burning through their runes equally fast. But it's rarely going to be a forced line, and it's absolutely the mark of a skilled player to recognize when that line should be followed. And the consequences of paying power costs are both bigger than expected in kind of a compounding fashion, but also more far-reaching. For every rune that you recycle, your total on following turns is going to be 1 smaller, and a useful way to look at this that I really enjoy is looking at it in terms of breakpoints. Let's say my opponent passes to me when I'm at 6 points, and I'd like to go for a double conquer to win the game. Whether I have access to 7 or 8 runes is going to be a major factor in how effective I am, considering one of these represents an accelerated watcher, which is another attacker, while the other is at best a tired fox that shoots out a -3 and spends the rest of the turn asleep in base. So 8 is my key breakpoint here. My rune total on the turn that I start with 6 points can be connected in retrospect to the decisions I've made about recycling runes throughout the game. Your distance from these breakpoints is often tracked by checking if you're on odd or even runes and then how many turns away you are from the expected breakpoint. So the ultimate expression of skill on that front is crafting a multi-turn sequence of plays that A, doesn't lose you the game, and B allows you to arrive on that game-winning turn with the number of runes that you need to perform it. It's kind of like in chess, the sum of decisions you make in the middle game, even ones without a recognizable short-term consequence, let's say no pieces are being removed from the board, those decisions still lead you to a specific endgame scenario. And mastery is being able to recognize which decisions will lead to a favorable one. Now, gold tokens, they add new elements to this equation. First of all, they incentivize you to follow a multi-turn strategy in which you play your gold generators before you play your power cost cards. Being able to pay these costs with gold will save you from having to recycle, which might allow you to hit crucial breakpoints a turn earlier, or have an additional energy open on that crucial turn for an insurance stupefy, defy, or cleave. And obviously, some of these lines will be situationally worse than others. Maybe they are lower tempo, maybe they allow your opponent to get an extra point where they otherwise wouldn't, etc. And those are additional possibilities for you to kind of weigh against each other. You have to ask yourself questions like, do I develop a board but pay a rune next turn for what I will want to play then? Or do I hold mana open, click an enemy unit with Wages of Pain, and not recycle next turn but sacrifice a gold instead? And since these tokens enter exhausted from every effect in the game that generates them thus far, the lines in which you use that gold require a bit of forethought. Let's say I'm looking to play Victor Innovator and pay for his rune cost with a gold token from Wages of Pain. If the token didn't enter exhausted, I could play the Wages of Pain even on the same turn if I had 7 energy available. But it does enter exhausted, so I have to play on my opponent's previous turn at the latest, which requires me to keep 3 energy open on my previous turn. So you see, forethought. So that's the interplay between gold tokens and the game's core resource system. But of course in Spiritforged we also have a small selection of gold matter cards. And to be perfectly honest with you, I'm not especially excited about these, at least not compared to the multi-turn sequencing dance that I just described and how gold tokens are involved in that. Like Renata Legend allowing gold to also make energy in the late game, or the interactions resulting from gold also being gear, like Ornn getting buffed off of it, or Jace being able to turn one into a Vanguard Armory are okay. If they are your cup of tea, then great, I'm happy for you, but I prefer how it impacts the core mechanics. But I did say in the intro that I feel like it's going to be an evergreen mechanic that's here to stay, and I have 2 reasons for saying that. First of all, there is still plenty of design space left to explore in terms of the when you do game effect, create a gold token. Off the top of my head, play a gold token when another unit dies, when you stun a unit, when I specifically attack or defend, when you draw extra cards in a turn, when you recycle or reveal cards from the top of your deck. Some of those may need limitations. And then of course you could have cards that have their gold enter ready, though that would cause some automatic memory issues in the first few weeks of play, as we have by now grown used to gold entering exhausted, and it would remove part of that interesting time delay factor that I've talked about. But perhaps most importantly, gold presents a third balancing lever for cards that don't fit neatly on the energy plus power scale. Looking at an effect like Bushwhack, which doesn't have a strong reason for the part after the dot being there. It suggests that whenever there's an effect that would fit squarely between 3 and 4 energy, for instance, and would likely be too strong on 3, but too weak on 4, you can still print it at 4, or 3 and 1 power, I guess, and just staple play a gold token exhausted at the very end. You can theoretically do the same with draw a card, but getting a gold as a bonus is slightly more granular in my opinion. As such, I think we might be getting more of these do an effect then create and gold token exhausted style of cards in the coming years, and though they may not be the most elegant designs, I think they will make the design team's jobs a little bit easier. Another interesting way to look at those cards that generate tokens and why those tokens enter exhausted was suggested to me by fellow content creator Lothar HS, and it's a League of Legends reference. For Bushwhack specifically, you could look at it as a scene from Life on the Rift. A gank from the brush, resulting in a kill, and the gold enters exhausted to represent the fact that you need to go back to base to spend it in League. So that would be a fun, top-down way to look at it. I've been Simon from Games Deconstructed. Let me know in the comments your opinions on gold tokens. Do you think we are likely to see more of them in the future, or are they going to be a Spiritforged only thing? A huge thank you goes to the Patreon supporters over on patreon.com/gamesdeconstructed. If you feel like supporting the channel, this is the best way to do so directly. And you will be joining such luminaries as Andrew GR144, Dillinger, and Jakub Burdun. Thanks a lot for watching, and I hope to see you in the next one.